guys, I'm happy to welcome back Daniil onto another video for the DAX pattern series. So I'm really interested in this one. It sounds like it's going to be a two-parter from what you've described to me. So curious to know kind of what the data is going to look like, and also what are some of the practices. So do you want to elaborate a little bit on what we'll be going over today?
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Reed.
Mhm.
As you can see or glimpse from the file name, we are going to be working with the filter function again, although in a different way. As I mentioned in one of the previous videos, filtering tables deserves its own video, and I think actually it deserves more than one video. So we'll have at least two parts today, and then maybe something else later. For now, it's just two parts. So part one is now on display. Let's have a look. So
Excellent.
this is some table with a few measures, and I'm going to show you a couple of bad measures, maybe something that's slightly better, and then something that I think is significantly better. So let's open that. Like now, I'm going to zoom in a bit. So what do we see here?
You're calculating your inventory balance, and you are filtering the entire inventory table with the date is equal to the last date selected. So that is that a running total?
It's just the balance. So
Okay, gotcha.
if I did a simple sum of the balance, then it would not be correct, right? Because you cannot add up balance across different dates. So I need to ensure
Gotcha.
that whatever date is selected, it shows the latest date, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what's the issue here? Like you correctly said, we're filtering the whole table. Now,
That's one.
another bad thing is that we're checking for inventory date to be equal to last date from all selected inventory date. By the way, just like every time, I'm using real formulas written by other people. And this is something that somebody actually wrote. They did last date over all selected inventory date. Why they did it, why they needed that to be done, that's beyond me. I don't know. Anyway, last date, I might be wrong here, so you can correct me. If I remember correctly, last date actually does some context transition. So
Yes,
not
because
like max.
it's a table function, not a scalar function, right?
Yes, so if we had max, say, then it would be just in filter context, right? But then last date actually triggers context transition. So for every row in inventory, we're doing context transition, and we're going from filter context to row. And that means it's an expensive operation you do for every row, right? So it's quite slow. Now, let's ignore this all selected issue. I think it's just useless. The bigger issue is table filtering and using last date. Like if you had, say, max, it would be already better. So that's one. Now, here's another one. So like I said, this is slightly better, except there's still this issue of filtering the table, right?
Yep. You would replace that with like a values function and values date to have it filter against a single column, distinct a virtual table of just the inventory date column, because nothing else from that table is being used.
Yeah, that's right. So what Reed is saying, we could filter values from this column, right?
Yep.
Like
You could
this?
also, in theory, use the. I believe you should also be able to use just your date table, which you have, which is connected to your
Yeah,
inventory table, instead of because you're filtering a fact table versus a dimension table, and typically filters should be applied to dimension tables when possible.
you're absolutely right. Yes. Maybe let's imagine we want to filter the column from the fact table, even though what you're suggesting is right. I just wanted to illustrate a way for you to do it. So one way is, like you suggested, you do filter over values. Now, somebody might ask, how's it different from applying a simple filter in calculate over inventory date? So when you do, so let me illustrate first. I'll just do, like, ignore the code itself because it's wrong. I just wanted to say this is a simple filter, like we're applying a filter to the date column only we're not doing any like explicit filter. Now it's
Yep.
the same as filter all. That's what's happening behind the
Yep.
scenes. Like this is the full syntax, and before it was short. So how's it different from values that Reed proposed? So this is actually equivalent, more or less, to what was there before, or like filter over the table, because we are not ignoring the filter on inventory date. Like values still
Yep.
keeps filters, right? Whereas all will remove any filter on the column, right? So it's not exactly the same. Now, can you still use a short filter and respect the filters? There is a way.
The keep filters function. Yeah.
That's right. Yes, you're
Okay.
right. Now this is the same as filtering values, like filter values and so on. This is the same. It respects the filter. By the way, this syntax is fairly new, or relatively new. It was added in September last year, I believe.
Yes.
Before that, you couldn't do it.
Because essentially there's basic filtering and advanced filtering, like in Calculate, and the filter function, essentially, like to keep it short and sweet, has been needed for more advanced type filters. Also, if you filter with a measure, you need the filter function. Like in anything where you're filtering against a changing value, or like, I'd say like less static, like, product category equals bike, basic filter. The sales amount is greater than 5,000, sales amounts measured, that would be the filter function. And they added a few other options for basic filtering. So they've enhanced and made the basic filter type, which is faster, like you see here, and I forget the exact items that were added to it, but there's more options now to be able to filter with using a basic filter type in here, that is benefiting performance for DAX.
Yeah. So before September, if you wanted to apply a filter like this, then you had to save max in, say, a variable or something.
Yep.
And then filter by using that variable.
Yep.
Now you can just do it directly in the simple filter.
Exactly. Because the declaring it in a variable would basically cache it and turn it into a scalar function or a scalar value, which then could be used in specifically in the basic filter type.
Yep. Reed, apologies to interrupt you. We'll need to cut this out. I think my Skype screen share went off somehow. You can still see it on your screen.
Yeah. Let's see. I'll just hang up and call again.
Yep. Okay.
It's ringing now. Are you getting it?
Ah, it's actually my Skype died. Okay, now you're.
There you go. That's why.
Sorry, can you please call again?
Yep. It doesn't like your computer very much. Every once in a while, I know it crashes on you. It's Skype's just buggy.
Yeah. Okay, so you should see it again.
Let's see.
Although for me,
there you go.
Okay, now it's not. Yes.
And then I'll say like just
okay.
yeah. So like your same screen and everything. So, but yeah, I ended with just mentioning that the requiring the variable can essentially caches it as a scalar output, which allows you to bring use it in a basic filter. So if you wanted to like comment on that.
Yeah. So yeah, like Reed said, a few things were added to the options in calculate filters. Now it's shorter to write, so that's good. So yeah, just another example of how Power BI team improves the product continuously, which I like.
I think they make it easier for people who are, I would say, the beginner to intermediate, be able to write DAX code without like, wait, why can the max function be used here but not used here? And this, like, they're trying to make filters as easy as possible without needing to know all the complexities of the backend stuff, like Daniil and I would have information on. So I do think they are working and doing a good job of just making things just easier and simpler.
Yep. Okay, so that's something I wanted to cover here. Oh, by the way, I think that's exactly as my example better. Yeah, almost. I just didn't have key filters, but I wanted to illustrate that this kind of filtering, like filtering column, is better. Now, here's another way, like Reed suggested, we should actually filter the date table. So this is one way to do it. So we could apply the same max inventory date filter to the date column from the date table, and that will give us a good result. By the way, all the measures that I have, they return same results. As you can see, like even if I scroll down all the way, they're all the same always. So it's not like they provide different results, at least in this setup. It's just that some performance is not as good as it could be. And I'm going to show you in a moment. So let me just show you another example here of how you can write the same thing. And that's by using the last non-blank value function. By the way, I'm showing these different ways of obtaining the semi-additive balance measure.
Yep.
The actual way in which you should do it depends on your circumstances. And it's outside of scope of this video, because you could have, different different shapes of data. So for example, you can capture your data weekly, and then maybe in between your balances might be different. So do you still want to display the latest balance at that day? That's up to you. That's according to your business requirements. Or maybe it's missing, but it's actually the same as before. So maybe missing means it's the same as before. It's different depending on your situation. So I'm not saying that this is the way you should always write your formulas. I'm just saying if you need to write it in, say, such a way as it was written here, then these are better ways to obtain the same result.
Exactly. And I mean, like, and by better, specifically, faster, less code, and it will run more optimally as far as the engine is concerned.
Yes. Now, I was saying that I'm going to show why these formulas are better. So let's fire up DAX Studio, and I'll show you a way to compare the measures. By the way, it would be good to hear from Reed whether he has his favorite way of comparing the performance of two measures.
DAX Studio works pretty well as far as that goes. If I really just need to know which is faster, the performance analyzer is the quickest way to do that if you have two measures on a page. If I actually want to know why the measure is faster, then I open DAX Studio.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I just decided to use DAX Studio in this case because performance analyzer might be a bit tricky to isolate the exact measures. Like you might have a bunch of other stuff, right? Like rendering of the visual itself, right?
Yeah, but if you open up the drop down, you'll have other, and then actually the query will be a dedicated line that you actually get inside of the performance analyzer. So you have like two cards on the page. Two cards on the page is how I would do it. Like I would just like two single value cards with each of the measures in there.
Yep, let's do it this way. I think this is a good suggestion actually. Let's just try to isolate as much as we can. So we'll keep date and one measure, example bad, and maybe just to make it slightly slower on purpose, let's add product here like this. Yeah.
Okay.
Now we'll copy that, and let's just label this bad 1, and this is going to be bad 2.
So you can keep it on the same page, because you would have two objects on the in the queries performance analyzer.
And you think that they're not gonna like not interact, but they're not gonna affect the rendering and stuff? No.
You can also calculate more than one in DAX Studio at the same time too. If you evaluated multiple stuff, they'll all run subsequently. Yeah, so you should you could totally have, to my understanding, like two on the page, and then each one will not affect the other one.
Okay, so let's do that, and let's just label them a bit. So this, okay, and this is bad 1, okay, and I'll just copy this 2 times, and this is going to be a good one, and we'll do that, and this is going to be good too. Okay, now performance analyzer.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll need to refresh this, and DAX query takes what, 42 milliseconds. That's
Yeah.
a bit of a challenge.
Basically, it's noise, exactly.
Yeah, it's noise.
If you're running in, it should take even less because it's also now cached. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it's not very good. Like I should have had more data.
Sure,
um,
yeah.
okay, well, if I refresh all of them,
the,
54.
the DAX query, yeah, I think as Marco and Alberto say, anything less than 100 milliseconds is essentially noise. Yeah, you can't actually
Yeah,
tell. It's a very fast DAX query in all of them.
yeah. Well, actually, last time it was the same. The good ones are still better. Like, let's try the third time. Like, yes, it's quite quick. Yes, it's still better. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
they are a couple milliseconds below the bad ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let me try, or let me show DAX Studio, even though it's not going to be maybe as useful.
Okay, sure.
So I have got DAX Studio. Now, let's say I don't want to write any code, just like with performance analyzer.
Mhm.
Here's what I can do. I can do a query builder, and I'll use date here and product here and example bad. And now I can run my query and see how long it takes. Now, actually, what I want is go to advanced and then run benchmark. So this will allow me to run the same query as many times as I want on cold cache and warm cache. So maybe let's get rid of warm cache because I think it's useless for us. So let's run it on cold cache 5 times. Yeah, now it's going to take a couple of seconds to run, or maybe more. Let's wait for the results. Okay, so here are the results. The average is 15 seconds or whatever it is. That's, yeah, I think that's seconds, and just have that maybe
15 milliseconds, but yeah.
Yeah, milliseconds, of course, not seconds. We didn't
Yeah,
wait
yeah.
for 15 seconds. Milliseconds. Yeah, okay. So yeah, just the query by itself. Okay.
Mm.
Now I could try the good one. And let's do the same thing. Actually, yes, it works. Okay. Run benchmark. And let's do 0 again. Let's see how long it takes. It might actually be slower. We'll see. Because, yeah, like you said, it's noise. Now, it is 9.6. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Look, in any case, I'm pretty confident that filtering columns is faster than filtering tables, especially when you have something like last state for every row of the table.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just another way for you to test your measures, the performance of your measures. Although Reed's way, using performance analyzer, is pretty good because it gives you something that's closer to life, like real life, I mean. Because these tests in DAX Studio benchmarks, they are a bit synthetic. Yes, they could work in some cases, like when you really need to isolate some measure or something.
Mm.
Otherwise, performance analyzer is much closer to the experience of end users.
Exactly. Yep. They both have their good use cases.
So yeah, that's that, and we'll see you in part 2.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, or share this video. Plus, if you have any comments for a future video, go ahead and add that to the comment section down below. Now, if this is your first time to my channel, or you want to see more of these awesome videos, please click that subscribe and notification button. Also, feel free to show your support by becoming a channel member.